Hello, my friends. I welcome you to another show of Aditya Talks and welcoming Mr. Johnson Odakkal from Mumbai. He's a Navy veteran, author, and an internationally certified John Maxwell speaker, teacher, and a growth coach. He has served in the Indian Navy for 34 years. Today, he has come to Aditya Talks to share his learning from the best experience he has amassed in his career. Welcome to the show, Commodore.
Thank you, Aditya. Honored to be here.
Yes, sir. It is my honor that I can interview you, and I hope our viewers you are enjoying as well because we will have a very great discussion right now, and just share all your thoughts in the description below. Sir, for the benefit of our viewers, please tell us about yourself and how you got to this point in your life.
So, thank you, Aditya, for asking that. And this and many answers will sound very philosophical. It is understandable considering the gray in my hair and my beard. So, I hope your friends and viewers will find it interesting. I want to say I am very grateful to God Almighty because considering when I look back at 56, what I have gone through, I won't trade it for anything in the world. I am so grateful I got to do and the journey that I have had. Secondly, to reach here, it's not about me. People were very kind to me. People were good to me. Just as an example, I remember when I first went to get a passport, and in the evening, I realized the passport officer had put the wrong date of birth, and I didn't have a place to stay. Someone absolutely unknown just kind of offered me a place to stay in the night. So next morning I could go to the passport office and get it sorted. This was in Bareilly in UP. That was where the passport office was. And so people have been kind all through, even now, for me to have an interview with the work that you have done, that itself speaks of how people are so important. And the third part for me to get here is I am a lifelong learner. You know what is one dream of mine? I wish I can sit with you in class and learn with no botheration having to, give an exam. And I enjoy learning. So the Almighty, many people, and a desire to learn has got me to where I am today.
Yes, that is certainly an interesting take, and thank you, sir, for sharing your thoughts on this as well. Can you tell us about your childhood? Many of my viewers are, I believe, children, and they would be extremely interested if you could tell us about your childhood and what was your dream when you were a child.
Amazing. I trust this will be enjoyed by children, and I want to apologize to the parents who are watching because of what I'm going to say next. So there are three knots. Okay, I'm a seafarer and knots are a part of that, but let me play with the words. I was naughty, and not ever restrained. Naughty means I got into the most unimaginable pranks possible, sometimes get whacked, because those days it was okay to get whacked, and land into trouble, but still learned a lot. And second is I got into a lot of naughty situations. I didn't know how I would land into the most crazy stuff where then you have to be very ingenuous and get through. But the bottom line was in both these kind of situations, I got to have fun with many of my peers, my age group, whether it was kindergarten, whether it was primary school, and we never held back when it meant to have fun. I still remember when I started cycling, we used to cycle at crazy speeds. Thank God there was no speed restrictions on cycling. And the third was I was never restrained. Whether it had to be learning or pick up a book or do something. And I think that kind of sums up my childhood. The problem is sometimes I forget that I have grown up. So there are moments I go back into those pranks, and today morning also. So I am known for cracking horrible jokes. So I tell my team, look, if you don't behave, you'll get another horrible joke. So, that naughtiness. Now, I'm not condoning, I'm not promoting misbehavior. I'm just saying a lightness, a sense of joy, a sense of enjoying with people, but yet never harming anyone. That's
Yes.
one thing which maybe my parents taught. Have fun, but not at the cost of others. So that's been my childhood. Enjoyed learning, enjoyed having fun, and enjoyed school. I love to go to school, and I love to play. So yeah, I'm very fortunate, very thankful to my parents and to my schoolmates for the fun that I've had in life, and I really mean it. I actually enjoyed myself.
Yes, and I think that is actually the gist of like everybody's childhood. And if it is not like your childhood, you should always open up and have fun, because these are the times where you have to learn, you have to grow, and you have to experience. And in the future, there is work, and you will go around the world, you will learn so many things. But childhood is a safe little comfort zone for you, where you can live and like enjoy and just learn. Thank you for sharing your views. And sir,
Yes.
also, I wanted to ask, how did you get into the Indian Navy? And as we know, sir, you have. How did you become a seafarer? Can you tell us about your early days at sea and in the Navy?
Great. So let me take you on a bit of a history. So I'll begin with a year which is long before my existence. My father, who belonged to the northern part of Kerala from a district called Malappuram, he went to the Royal Indian Navy in 1944, and he left in the Royal Indian Navy mutiny, or we call it uprising, in 1946. So genetically, that somehow went on. And allow me to just share some visuals just quickly to make it very interesting. And from 1946, I'm going to jump forward to 1972. And so I'm going to just share this visual. So I hope you can see two books.
Yes, sir. The
Yes.
weather and the
So,
book of ships.
yes. I am so privileged. Someone decided when I was in grade 2 and grade 3 to gift me these two books. The book on
Yes.
the right is a book of ships. Of course, this is a representation. I don't have the actual cover of the book that I had. And as a 7-year old, I knew all about ships. By the time I actually went to sail, it was like learning again about knots, about lifeboats, about life rafts and destroyers and frigates. And this, it was very visually appealing. Not only that, a year later, someone gifted me this Ladybird book of weather, and that had very simple description of what is a weather vane, what a different Beaufort scale. So now these we study with meteorology is a very boring subject. Okay, don't tell my instructor, right? It's a very boring subject, but I had already learned these. And so what happens is I had a fascination. Now I'll just momentarily, I'll just move forward and I'll stop sharing. So, I had this fascination somehow that was planted, but then
Yes.
I forgot about it. I just completely forgot, and I went through this like many children go. I want to become a doctor. I want to become something else. I want to become a IAS. And by the time I reached 6, 7, I was determined to be a scientist, and I wanted to be a space scientist. Go to ISRO, maybe even go on a spacecraft. I had those, and the love for maths and physics. And just to trouble some of the children watching, I'm a lazy guy, and I love the lazy subject called mathematics. You learn it once, you don't have to learn it again. Okay, so that's my. Of course, a lot of people don't agree with me, but I loved maths, I loved physics, I loved geography, and I felt I would make a good scientist. But life had other plans. By the time I come to grade 12, someone used to keep on talking about Training Ship Rajendra, Training Ship Rajendra. Now, when you keep hearing something, you're saying, okay, what is this thing called Training Ship Rajendra? And it was the training ship for training merchant navy officers. So you asked about the navy, but 5 years before joining the navy, I joined the merchant navy. And in November of 1982, I went to the training ship Rajendra. It was on new ferry wharf called Bhauchadakka in Mumbai. And thereafter, I sailed in the shipping corporation for another 3 years. That was fascinating. And so that's just a moment, you're talking of early days. So that's my next scene. Uh, this is on the left, which is just 2 years old, an image, me sitting on a sailboat. But on the right side is a depiction of a passage that I did in the Mediterranean. So my early days of seafaring, I remember this passage in the Mediterranean. We had finished crossing the Suez Canal and we were going all the way to UK. I was a young cadet, and one day the sea just got rough and we went out, and we said, oh my, I think some of us were feeling seasick. The ship was tossing, turning, and horrifying, till we just turned to our port side, that is to the left, and we saw another ship which was like the one that I showed, that was more in a worse condition than us. It was smaller. It was really, looking at that, we forgot our seasickness. I learned perspective. Those early days, you realize you are, if you only focus on yourself, there is very little that happens. But if you look around, you get a sense of compassion, you get a sense of empathy. Even when I joined the Navy, 5 years later, I had some challenging time. The shipping industry was going through some recession, and I was very fortunate. The government of India made a plan for us to be directly taken from the merchant navy to the navy. I'm one of those rare 15 of us who joined the navy. So in my early days, again, I had fun because I had done all my training in the merchant navy. I knew seamanship, I knew about flags, I knew about navigation. So those initial years, I made good friends with, and my naval friends taught me warfare. And so those were days of great fun. You learn to contribute, you learn to work hard, you supported one another. And I still remember my early days. It I missed college. I didn't go to college. So I didn't have all those fun. I didn't go to engineering college or medical college or any other college. But I went to what is called the College of Life, and College of Life at Sea. And that has been an amazing journey. So you talked about early days, so I'm stopping at those early days.
Yes. So this was a very interesting journey, getting picked by the Navy, and after that you have been in it for 34 years, and it has been a grand journey for you, Commodore. So uh, can you tell us, out of all of this time you have spent in the Indian Navy, can you tell us about some memorable moments out of your career? Because I think this will be very exciting for our young viewers.
Yes, I'll be very glad to. As I said, I love seafaring, and by qualification, I'm a marine navigator. And I still remember long back, at least 2 years before I got officially trained as a navigator, you have in the Indian Navy, one amazing thing is a lot of people don't realize there are many small ships. And there,
Yes.
I was on a small ship called Ratnagiri, and it was a minesweeper. And my commanding officer, my captain, because he was a senior most out of three ships, so I became the senior navigator. I was the junior most. Okay, the other navigators were senior to me, but I still remember all three ships we had to go from Mumbai to Porbandar, and then beyond to Odakkal. So I had to do the planning. And as a young lieutenant, I mean, hardly, I just have finished my training, I've become a navigator, and I was doing my planning, and I planned my passage through a wreck, and those two other senior people came kind of, what is this you've done? And I said, I'm happy you pointed it out before we went sailing. So I learned my lesson. Never take your plans for granted. And I'm very grateful for my friends. Then we read it by and that sailing really made me learn so many things about navigation. We had small mishaps, we had some good things. We went all the way to Oka and to Porbandar, and we sailed back. And it feels good to be the senior ship, and with a group of ships and the friendships that you kind of develop. So that I remember really made me realize as a young officer how much of responsibility can come on you. So that's
Yes.
something that I've always treasured. Then, of course, a lot of people know about Op Parakram after the attack on the Indian Parliament in 2000. one, and there was a situation. We went on an alert, and instantly I was back in command of another minesweeper, and there was no war declared, there was nothing, but we were sent out on patrol, and I saw the difference between practice and reality,
Yes.
because now the situation was real. And I'm very grateful for the opportunity. I was commanding that ship, and we put people on patrol. We had to issue live ammunition. Now, I won't go into the other details because this is an open platform, but the way the young men, the young officers, the petty officers, and the officers of the ship, they responded, we knew that the country is in safe hands. And we were out, we stretched our limits, we were out on patrol for a week, came back, and that set the norm for other patrols to go. But I cherish that, being in independent command and going on an independent patrol. So that was amazing. And the third quick story I want to tell as a representative is I got a chance to be the second in command of a huge ship. That time it was the largest ship of the Navy, Indian Naval ship Jyoti, was a tanker, and I was the second in command. And on that ship,
Yes.
every year before that, there would be an accident, there would be a mishap, there would even be loss of life. You know what we did? We just got everyone together and we just went through every procedure, we went through in detail, and we said, let's work together. And we built the procedures back from scratch. And I left the ship a year later. 400 times we did replenishment at sea. Two ships come close, very, very close. Not one mishap, not one accident, just because the team came together, and that ship has retained that reputation till now. So if you notice, these are all about team players. The Navy is about teamwork. Ships are about teamwork. There are no heroes at sea.
Yes.
Yes, you can sail solo. We'll talk about that separately. You can sail solo, but as long as you're sailing, you need your shipmates. Life is all about partnership. And those are just three of the stories out of the many stories that I have.
Yes. I think this was a really phenomenal story. Also, I also want to know, as you mentioned before, you have mentioned a lot of times in this interview that you like learning and you would like to learn without the constraint of exams, and all of this you have mentioned. Can you tell us about the current education system in India, or as you know, focuses too much on the subjects being taught, and this brings a tight constraint on the freedom of an individual student to explore their passions and choose a stream of their own interest. What are your thoughts on this? And of course, there are many paradigms in India as well, to become a doctor, to become an engineer, or start a business. So, what are your thoughts on this?
So I'm going to make this answer a bit different. Okay. So let me
Yes.
give you an idea of my idea of education by telling you what I have done. So I
Yes.
told you I began with a love for maths and physics. I enjoyed geography along the way. I used to write. And so I thought I'll be a scientist. So I was all focused on maths and physics. And then I went to the sea, so I became a navigator. Navigator means again maths, physics, and geography. So that was, and I went for my specialization. I got my MSc in nautical science, and I thought that would be great. Till I discovered I wanted to do PhD. I love studying. Now there is no PhD in that subject at that time. So what happened many years later, the Navy gave me a master's degree in defense and strategic studies. Now I go and study international relations. And then I went and did my MPhil in that. Now I wanted to study law, and I've done a little bit of study law. I wanted to study psychology, and I will tell you about that. So I went on to do my PhD in political science because I had done IR. I have practiced counseling and I have done basics of psychology. I recently taught legal history in a university. So you
Yes.
know how mixed up my background. And now, if someone asks me, what's your subject? So I say life. Okay, my
Yes.
subject is life. And that brings me back to the question that you asked. And here is a very stark and very sharp statement. Subjects are divided so only in school and in the report card or in a mark sheet. In life, there are no subjects. Life is all subjects rolled into one. Okay. In school, you go from a maths class to an English class to a geography class to a Hindi class to a PT class.
Yes.
When you say, life doesn't say, wait, I will now send you a maths exam. After that, I will send you a geography exam. It sends you an exam called life. Now,
Yes.
in practical terms, obviously, we have to teach different subjects. But what our education systems sometimes, by the way, they work very hard. Let me tell you, I will not criticize teachers. Teaching is one of the most thankless jobs for the amount of work that they do. But the difference is, C has taught me that life is like a spectrum. Depending on the way it falls on through a prism, whether you see ultraviolet to infrared, which range of the spectrum that you see, the entirety is light. Similarly, light to life, we need all subjects. We need to work from one. If you want to be good in maths, you have to be good in English because you will not understand the problem if you don't know English. If you
Yes.
want to be good in literature, you need to know geography because if you don't know where the story is placed, how will you know about it?
Yes.
And that there's a concept called theory of knowledge. And in the international curriculum, when you come, they bring it from that concept. So, and that is one perspective. How did I develop this? My father, who was a teacher in his early days, and he studied in Sevagram, he had this quote: "There is only one school, and there is only one teacher, and the name of the both is nature." Nature is the
Yes.
only school because nature teaches you. Nature is the only teacher. Okay. I have just upgraded that to say, I take it, you have to make observations. So we have to teach a child to observe. We have to make connections. You remember puzzles where you join the dots? That is what we need to do. And most of us in our childhood, and even we when we grow old, we are all looking at ourselves. We are the selfie generation. We are only looking at the self. If we can teach to look at others, that means I am studying in India. Do I know about my neighboring countries? I am studying if I am living in Mumbai, do I know about other cities? So, this other mindedness. So, if our education system can bring this consciousness of observations, connections, and other mindedness, it will be amazing. It will be the best education that can. We may get poor marks in maths or maybe in Hindi or maybe in something, but we will not fail the examination called life. I know it's philosophical, but I mean,
Yes. I think that is a very interesting take on education, and I wholeheartedly welcome that. And your father was also a very great person. Nature is the ultimate form of education and life also. Can you tell us about growth? Growth is an extremely important part of our lives. And if we do not grow on a daily basis, then we get stuck in the past, we become more negative day by day. And when this happens, we just start like thinking about some extreme stuff like suicide as well. And a lot of people have been through this phase. But when it comes to growth, the key is about consistency, and people who consistently try to grow are the people who can conquer the world. Like Steve Jobs and Elon Musk, these types of people always try to grow and change their surrounding. Um, but can you tell us how people can enable and enhance their life with consistent growth? And how can they grow consistently?
thank you for asking, Aditya. You have said something and triggered a word, growth. Uh, so allow me to first just show you something and then I will continue the explanation. So I suppose you'll enable my screen sharing and okay, I'll wait for that. Meanwhile, my mentor has been Dr. John C. Maxwell. He's an author, speaker, and a motivational guru for over 50 years. He's written 86 books, and later I will talk about one of his books. And
Yes. The video is, you can share your screen.
okay, I'll pause and I'll just assume that I can share. So let me show you something, and then I will continue. So this is from my website. It's what I called life navigation, and that means empowering you to envision and execute effectiveness. And for any of the viewers, age is not a factor. You can reach out to the website. And the thing I wanted to show you below, you can see three words: knowledge, growth, life. You heard me in the initial part talk about how life is, the real lesson is life, not maths, physics, geography. The real lesson is life. And we need knowledge, but knowledge where there is a close understanding of us. But the central word there is growth. So let me stop sharing and tell you about that. So here is what I would say in brief, just in a few minutes, without going on a long discourse. Always be vision driven. What is vision? If say I'm in the city of Nagpur, and I've chosen Nagpur because it's supposed to be the place where the 0 miles, and I decide that I have to travel to the Himalayas. Now I know that I have to go north. Okay.
Yes.
So when I'm vision driven, I know my direction is north. Now, while traveling north, I will not go straight line like a compass north. My road will sometimes go east, it will swing to the west, and sometimes it will have a retreat. But my direction of advance is northwards. So
Yes.
that is the first. Many of us, like when we assign tasks, when we tell someone, like when we give an assignment to a child in a school, or in any assignment in the workplace, very few times do we tell them why are we giving this assignment. That is part of vision, the why, not just the what, but the why. And
Yes.
when we have the why, then all these years people talk of having goals. So what is a goal? Final exam में अच्छे number आने चाहिए. Okay, then 10th class, then 12th class, then graduation, then job. It is like milestones we are just ticking off. That
Yes.
is crossing goals. So when you reach the goal, now you wonder what you do next. It's like you kick the ball into the goal and you restart. But growth is different. Growth
Yes.
is much different. It's better to have growth orientation than goal orientation. And that's why there is a book I will talk. I know we will talk about that, so I'll talk more there. But in having a growth, do you know what nature teaches us? Even our body teaches us. The moment a cell stops growing, it dies. Our skin consists of dead cells. Because there is growth, it reaches a stage, becomes dead, it gets shed. So either you are growing or you are gone. So there is always, that is the idea of growth. And the third part is have a vision, have a growth mindset, be intentional. We don't randomly do something. It's that emoji, just, why are you doing just? So that's not, we must be very intentional. So I'll summarize this in a very simple sentence, which is easy to remember. And somebody taught me this. Think big, right? Think big. You have a channel. May your channel have many thousand viewers. That's called thinking big. Okay. But start small. Remember your first interview. Start small. One piece at a time. We have, how do you eat an elephant? Okay. Not an elephant, but an elephant size problem. One piece at a time. Think big. Start small. Pass it on. What I gain, I give it to someone. What I learn, I pass it to someone. What I enjoy, I bring others to the same way. So I remember learning this from someone. Think big, start small, pass it on, growth will never stop.
Yes. Sir, can you tell us? Can you tell us about? You have a reputation as being a seafarer and a specialist navigator for 34 years, as you mentioned, and you have not only helped other people navigate the sea, but you also help people to navigate and chart out their lives. So basically, you help a lot of people. Um, so for the students who are watching, what is your advice for planning their lives and navigating through their lives?
So, as a transformation coach or as a leadership coach, I shared about my website. Just for memory's sake, I'll just show that picture afresh. And that's my program is called Life Navigation, and that's my website. You could reach out. But what I mean by this is, and let me explain even as the visual is up, is whatever we do, and this is not just students, this I find applies to everyone. When I superannuated from the Navy last year, I had to do the same thing, what I teach others to do. So the first thing to do to help or self-help, I cannot live somebody else's life. I can only be a navigator. I can be like a GPS. I can be like a map. So there are three components that I always talk about it. Okay, so I'll just stop sharing. And there are three P's. Okay,
Yes.
very easy to remember. First is picture it. There's Stephen Covey says everything in life is created two times. First time in your mind when you imagine it. Second time in actuals when you make it happen. So the first requirement to navigate life is to picture it. When I as a navigator have to say plan my journey from say Mumbai to Aden, then I have to pull out a chart. I have to look at where Aden is, where Mumbai is, find the passage, the direction to go, see if there are dangers on the way, navigate around the dangers, and find a way. So
Yes.
picture it. Unless we get the picture from where we are to where we want to go, then there's no fun. I mean, we'll accidentally go on in life. We will be not the football player who takes the ball to the goal, but we will be the football who everyone kicks. That we
Yes.
don't want to be kicked. We want to be the one who's kicking the ball. So
Yes.
that's the picture. Picture is it has to go to the goal. It will not directly go. We may have our routes.
Yes.
Second is possess it. Now possess is almost like people say bhoot aa gaya. Matlab it was like you it should grip us. There has to be an ownership. This vision belongs to me, not to
Yes.
my parents. I cannot become their doctor. I cannot become their engineer. I cannot become their navigator or their psychiatrist. I have to be. If the vision doesn't grip me, then it is not going to happen. So that's what I help people do. Take ownership of their vision. And
Yes.
the third, nothing is achieved alone in life. A lot of people say, "Na, I am self-made man." They are all fooling us. Nobody is a self-made man. We all need help. I have been helped by so many people. It'll take me hours if I start listing and telling about them. So the third P is partner for it. Find the
Yes.
right partners. Find those who will promote you. Find those who will cheer you on when you feel down. So picture it, possess it, and partner for it, and we will definitely reach our destination. So that's what I would urge as the best way to navigate life.
Yes. Um, this is really interesting, and I think navigating your life and planning out your life is one of the most important decisions that you have to make early on in life, so that
Yes.
you can just move forwards easily and smoothly throughout your life. And you have to always stay on your plan. You do not have to deviate from it. And if you deviate from it, you just create a new plan for your future.
Yes.
So I think this is a really interesting concept. And sir, um, for every child watching this video, can you suggest something that you couldn't do in your childhood that you would suggest to others?
So, very interesting question, and I might say something which might appear very flippant, but it is not so. And let me say this, when you asked about what I couldn't do in as a child, there is nothing I didn't do as a child, from good things to naughty things, from mischief to wonderful things. I did everything what I got to do. And so, my message to children today, yes, uh, we will talk about things we can do, but I'm not talking about things to do. In simple words, we will say play, read, learn, even connect to us. We are going to do something called a Heritage for Legacy workshop from 18th of July. So those things are there. But that's not my message. My real message is do what you get to do,
Yes.
and do not ever miss out what you have the opportunity to do. I was very fortunate. I have done a lot in my childhood. I have sat on my father's bicycle and he's taught me, and I've traveled. When I got my cycle, I used to cycle to the ends of the city at crazy speeds. I have run marathons as a child. I have I have been very fortunate to travel the world, go to the Cape of Good Hope, stand on either side of the Greenwich Meridian, go to the Niagara Falls. I mean, and go to Indonesia, go around the places. Whatever life offered me, I grabbed it with both hands. To every child that is watching today, what you have in front of you, grab it, do
Yes.
it. Don't grab somebody else's toy. That's not what I'm saying. Grab the opportunity. If we get a chance and someone says, "Do you want to go for a bicycle ride?" Go for it. Get to watch a waterfall? Go for it. Get to read something? Go for it. Want to
Yes.
watch some video? Watch it. I mean, learn from it. Do what you get to do. That's my best. It will be wrong on my part to say play hockey or play cricket. I am no one to tell you, or any child, do this or do that. Whatever comes in front of you, do it. Do everything that you get to do, and that's the best way to take care of childhood.
Yes. I think that is a very important like view, and of course, I also wanted to mention, sir. We discussed, so good habits are very beneficial in the long term, and they shape your mindset and life. What habits do you suggest to the viewers watching this video, and so that they can transform their life, not only with planning but enacting them with habits and mindsets that correlate, and so that you can succeed in life and sail through the uncharted waters.
Okay. I'll again be very broad pictured like a navigator. So we always are at some place. Okay. And that is whatever is our profile. That means what we have done so far in life. Whatever is our pattern, that means some of us are very outgoing people, some are very reserved people, some are very jovial, some are not so jovial. We be who we are, but and we have some strengths. There's no point in reflecting only on weaknesses, reflect on strengths. So I call that the profile, pattern, and power. But we have a purpose in life. That
Yes.
means tomorrow I want to become a scientist. Tomorrow I want to become a writer. Tomorrow I want to become an artist.
Yes.
Where I am to where I want to, what do I need to do consistently is the habit that I must have. And this will be different for every single person. Okay. Like in my case, I'm a person who's of faith. I'm a spiritually oriented person. So I ensure that most days in the morning I do my devotions. For others, it will be exercise. Now I have put on some weight, I need to reduce weight. So I need to, some days in the week, do very intense exercise.
Yes.
Because I'm involved in teaching and learning, I need to regularly write, I need to regularly read. Now, these are what are good habits for me to journey to my purpose. Some will be common, but some will be different for other people. For example, someone wants to become a world class violinist. Then they need to ensure that they don't have long nails, They have to have, hold the string. They have to practice for hours. If someone wants to be a great singer, then they have to have the habit of taking care of their throat, and that's the consistency. Habit is nothing but doing something naturally, or rather regularly, till it becomes a natural part of us. So there are many good habits, but I would say before deciding what are the habits we must have, definitely we talk of keeping things clean and keeping things orderly. We are not talking of those general. I think we must pick up habits that take us to our purpose. In my case, there were some habits. In other people's case, it will be different. So that's why that charting the life is very important. Then if I don't have the habits, I must build the habits.
I think this is really important because if you build unnecessary habits, that is no use like for your like success and your plans. Suppose lazy habits such as watching movies all the time or like eating junk food and all that those are bad habits. And of course, it depends on the kind of person you are and the life you have planned for yourself.
Yeah,
Um,
unless you are a food critic and you want to
yes,
review food.
yes, of course. That's what I was trying to say. It depends on the kind of life you are aiming for. You should aim at that uh,
Yes.
aspect and make habits that support it. So I think. But sir, I also had one more question. This is an impromptu question. Uh, how should the viewers or the children find their purpose? Because finding your purpose is a very complicated process and it takes a lot of time, and a lot of people are confused until the day they die, and a lot of people are very specific and very clear from the day they are born or the day they go to school. So I wanted to ask, how can we find our purpose and our why?
So you have said something very wise, and you've given the best end of the spectrum. There are some people who are very clear, and I'll take one of my daughters. When she was in grade 4, she said she wants to be a fashion designer. She went on to do her degree in fashion. Okay, so very consistent. There are some people. I mean, person like me. I have done so many things in life, and but I know my purpose. My purpose is to build people and to help them navigate life. So that has been consistent always. I am a lifelong learner and a teacher. But for a student, can I say it is okay if we have only an idea of what we want to do? We don't need to have a document with very clearly laid out plan that this year I will do this. That's too much on a child. Like, but we do. It has to come natural. Some people may find it early in life, so they would say. So there are higher purposes and there are very specific purposes. It's a very broad purpose is a very broad subject. But if someone is seeking to have a purpose, usually it's a good idea to get help, find someone you can trust, someone slightly older, doesn't have to be only parents, someone you trust, and share things. So I do this with a lot of people. I listen to them, I listen to their stories. I tell them, tell me your joyful moments, tell me your painful moments, tell me the places you have been. And when I start listening to the story, I start seeing. Then I ask them, do you think this sounds good to you? And I just recently did with someone. There was a teen who came and sat with me, and we got a little clarity. So some amount of it is professional, but some amount of it is you on the inside. Deep down inside, I love art, or I love the stage, or I love doing experiments. So if there is a good support system, parents, teachers, friends, elders, and there is an open communication, I think we'll start getting clarity. There is no one magic solution. There is no one software in which we put ourselves and out will pop up. Here is your purpose. That doesn't happen.
Yes.
It is not so simple as that. But somewhere deep inside, we know, but we also need an affirmation from someone and confirmation to say, probably this is the purpose that I
Yes. So I think finding your why is like one of the first most important steps to planning out your life. And for the children watching this, I would recommend you to just start to figure out what you want to do in your life and what is your purpose and what makes you happy and what makes you happy and gives you peace. Just find
Sure.
that, and after that it's easy. Just strive to follow your why and just follow your dharma. And I think this is this. Thank you for sharing your opinion on this, sir. Um, let's move on. Can you tell us about your favorite book, um, like which you believe everyone should read?
Interesting. And this is the toughest thought when you had asked me some ideas about what we want to talk about. And my first gut answer is I don't have a favorite book. I just love to read. And I sometimes read at crazy speeds. Many years ago, I used to finish sometimes one book or two books a night. Those were initial days at sea. But when I reflected, and I'm going to flash two books that have made a lot of meaning to me. But I'm not saying it's for everyone, but they will be useful for a very large majority of people. So I'm going to share that. And again, these are the two titles. The left one is a very thin book, Ernest Hemingway's The Old Man and the Sea. It's a very fascinating story of an elderly fisherman and a fish that bit and the whole journey. It's very symbolic. People study it in literature, but I love it for its work. It's not very long. In fact, you'll find a PDF version and can be very easily finished. Second, as I was telling my mentor, Dr. John C. Maxwell, who's written over 86 books, and this is one of his most favorite books called The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. I talked about growth mindset. So I'll talk of just two small things why this book is favorite. It has a law called the law of the rubber band. A rubber band is of no use unless you stretch it. When you stretch it, you can tie, for ladies, they can tie a ponytail, you can put and wrap around it, or you can use a impromptu, missile, you can launch paper missile with it. You can do stuff when you stretch it. So the more life stretches us, the more we'll find our potential. And the second is called the law of pain. And we talk of if there is no pain, there is no gain. If I want to become a marathoner, I have to get up at 3:30 in the morning, 4 o'clock I have to hit the road. If I want to excel in an examination, I'll have to spend many hours going through the modality and learning all that. So that's the law of the pain. And those are just two of the laws in this book. So this is an amazing book. I love to teach from it. I take workshops on it. So uh, those are my two books that I choose favorite. But as I said, I just love to read.
Yes. Can you also, yes, thank you for sharing your opinions on this as well. But you have done so much in your life, Commodore, and you have achieved so much. You help people navigate through their life, and you are a leadership coach, and you have done so much as a Commodore as well. So, can you tell us about? You can't have done this without some like role models, right? So, can you tell us about your role models whom inspire you the most?
Okay, you would have already got it from my talk so far. Two of them have already popped up, but I'm going to talk very briefly about four. First was my father, Odakkal or Odakkal Master from Malappuram. He officially had studied only till high school, but he had gone and studied in Sevagram. So in the olden days, he was qualified to be a junior teacher. And in his work diary, he had signatures of Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Acharya Kriplani, Maulana Azad, and he had done those were very illustrious. And when I was small, I remember from the time I was two, he would take me on a cycle, and he was my Google on wheels. Long before Google became part of us, there was no question or no spelling that I couldn't ask him at any time of the day or night. So he has been an amazing model. And the best tribute is when he was about to go, he passed away a few years back, and a few years prior to that, I used to remember, not in my hearing, but he used to tell good things about me. So I was very happy my role model was telling good things about me. Second is this amazing, person. He's also no more. late Vice Admiral Manohar Prahlad Auti. If you anyone Googles him, MP Auti, he is such a imposing, majestic looking admiral with a long beard. And I saw him when I freshly came to the sea. Of course, he was a CNC of Western Naval Command. He loved sailing. He brought me to Maritime History Society and he used to call me Johnny. And I remember he telling me a lot of things, and we just adored each other. We would fight with each other because there were places we would do that. But he really blessed me and come because his knowledge was fascinating. His language skills were amazing, and he, even at almost 90, he would still want to know things. He would still learn, and he would still write. That is the kind of. The third person is Dr. John C. Maxwell, whose book I talked about. I have heard him, I have talked with him. I have not met him physically in person, but amazing. And I cannot forget this list without my grade 5 teacher, Mrs. Balfour. And you'll be surprised if you say she embarrassed me in a nice way. Um, she really loved me. In one class exam question, she didn't ask me, she says, and she just praised me because she knew my situation and how my education was going on. And she was one of the best encouragers in life. So these are some role models, but they are just a few. I have been blessed by many people.
Yes, and finding a role model is also like one of the most important parts of planning your life, who you want to be, because that is a great visualization for yourself. I want to be like this person, and you have a starting point there, and just follow the steps your idol took and begin your journey. Sir, also, second last question. Please advise two people whom you would like to see and learn from on this show, and why.
So I will talk of two people I know. So not so much learn, but I believe the show will be enriched. I'll mention about a person and a group of people. The person, of course, right now he's engaged in something very fascinating called the Golden Globe Race. He's Commander Abhilash Tomi, Kirti Chakra. He is retired from the Indian Navy, and he is the one who solo circumnavigated the world in a sailboat without stopping. He's presently on a boat called Bayana. He is at France, and soon they will be going around the world. So he'll be busy for some time, but when he comes back, he's a great storyteller. He has survived. In the previous version, he had a fall from the mast. He broke his back. He's got titanium plates on his back, and he's gone back sailing. So his story will be really fascinating. He's an amazing person, Abhilash Tomi. The second is the Tarani Six. I call the Tarani girls Vartika Joshi, Pratibha Jamwal, Swati, Aishwarya, uh, Payal, and Vijaya. There are six of the officers who were part of the Tarani Navika Sagar Parikrama. They also did circumnavigation. Any of them, if you get, they are amazing. I just love what they did. I was with them in Cape Town. I was when they started, when they came back. And if you meet any of them, they will really add value to the show.
Yes. Thank you for sharing those. And if you could send their contacts, if you know them, yeah, on in WhatsApp, we'll discuss this later. Lastly, sir, I hope you enjoyed the show. I certainly did. I learned a lot over this last 1 hour of discussion. I think there's been more, but I really enjoyed this discussion with you, and I hope my viewers, you also learned a lot throughout the discussion. And of course, visit sir's website. I will just link it in the description below. And if you want to plan out your life and make a plan, and if you want to get some advice from sir, just go there and book a session with him. And you can also follow him on LinkedIn as well. I'll just mention his LinkedIn also in the description below. And thank you for watching. Share your thoughts in the comments below and like, subscribe. uh, Thank you, sir. For please advise what unique thing you have liked about Aditya Talks, and any suggestions which should be incorporated to improve the experience of our viewers.
Well, let me say this in my way. I didn't like the show. I loved it. Okay, I love your enthusiasm. I am so proud of what you're doing. I have watched not all, but a few of your videos, and I love the way you plan, you go through, and it's my honor to have been here. All I would say is keep going. Okay, learn and launch every day afresh. We cannot rest on yesterday. Yesterday is gone, tomorrow is far away. So live today like an absolutely blank new slate. So every show is new, every guest is new, every episode is new. You have a infectious enthusiasm. Just keep it going every single day.
Thank you, sir. Um, so I really enjoyed this interview, and it has been an honor. And I would love to interview you in the future. And thank you, sir. Bye bye.
Thank you. God bless. Bye.